So here we're going to have a look at a chart, and you can see there's different coloured areas on the chart. The white area, this is deeper water. The lighter blue means it's starting to get shallow. The darker blue means it is shallow. And then you can see this green area here, and here, and here. The green areas, that means that it may be land or it may be sea, depending on how high the tide is. So you could imagine, for example, that on the shoreline here, that this green area is probably going to be a beach area, whereas on the inland waters, this is probably going to be a mangrove swamp type area. So we've got yellow is the land, green is the maybe land, maybe sea, depending on the state of tide. Dark blue is shallow water, light blue is getting shallow water, and white tends to be the deeper water. So let's just go a little bit further outside and start off as though we were going to make our way into this port. And you can see the first thing a mariner would notice as they're coming in and making their approach into the channel, the first thing they would see is this looks like a cat's eye, and this tells us this is the pilot boarding area. So when a big ship's travelled all around the world, the captain's got the experience to travel all around the world, but he doesn't have all the intricate and local knowledge. So a local captain, or what we call a pilot, comes on board and he tells the captain all the latest information and the best places to go. He can also liaise with the port authorities. So this is the symbol here, and if you were cruising around here, you'd notice this is the place where the big ships come to pick up the pilot. Then as you go further in towards the port, you'll see this next buoy here, which is red and white, vertical up and down, and this is the fairway buoy, or the safe water buoy. You can approach this from many angles. All the areas are safe. However, look here on the chart, we've got this little symbol, and this is almost like the skeleton of a ship, and that's what it is. This is a wreck, but you can see it's 16 meters deep, so for most people that's not going to be a problem. So the next thing, after we've hit the fairway buoy, or rather we've passed the fairway buoy, we want to come down into the approach channels, and here, as we would expect, port and starboard. The port lateral marker is a can shape and red, because we're in ILA area, and the green, the starboard buoy, is a green and like a tree shape. Interesting to see the numbers. Port has 4 letters, which is an even number, and the port hand buoys tend to be even numbered buoys. The other side, the starboard side, is an odd number. So here we often say port and starboard, but actually in this case the numbering starts starboard and port. So we can come a little bit further down the channel. We can see there's this wiggly line. The way I remember this wiggly line is in the old days when we did paper charts and corrections on the charts with a ink pen. We would use, if we had to draw this line, we would actually use a hacksaw blade as the stencil, and that's how I remember this is some underwater cable. It could be electricity, it could be telecommunications. We have to look at the information on the chart to see what it is exactly. So you can see here, this is the depth. The depth is 16.2 meters. That's below chart datum. Chart datum is an imaginary level, and what we do is all the depths are measured below that level, and all the heights of tide are measured above that level. So for example here, it's 16.2 meters. So if there was 2 meters of tide, 2 meters of tide on top of chart datum, 16.2 meters of water below chart datum would give us a total amount of water, or total height of water, of 18.2 meters. So let's carry on with our little approach. So we're going to come here, we're going to keep the port buoys on the port side and the starboard buoys on the starboard side. We work our way down through the channel here, and now we can see that in 2012 this channel was dredged to 14.3 meters. Now this doesn't mean that everywhere is 14.3 meters depth exactly. It just means that everywhere is at least 14.3 meters. But that was in 2012. It's a few years later, so things may have changed. Whilst we're looking around the chart here, we can see there's another buoy here, and this buoy has got two black balls on the top, and you can see it's got red and black horizontal bands. So this is telling us this is an isolated danger. So here's probably alright, here's alright, but we can't actually go right up to the buoy itself, because in the vicinity of the buoy, that's where the danger is. So coming back over into the channel, we keep the port buoy on the port side and the starboard buoy on the starboard side. We look at this strange, and we wonder, what is this? Well, it's just telling us what kind of seabed there is. So we've got coral, we've got sand, and we've got broken shell. And there's a book we can actually look up all this information and find out exactly. For most people, why are we interested in what the seabed's like? Well, it helps us deciding where's a good place to anchor and what kind of anchor to use. So continuing down, still port buoys on the port side, starboard buoys on the starboard side, making our way into the port. Still we've got the same even numbers on the port side and odd numbers on the starboard side, but a word of warning, not all ports do this. Once again, they're confirming that this area was dredged in 2012 to at least 14.3 metres. So we still make our way into the port now. This notification is telling us that you get strong tides in this area. You know, a lot of people think the only place you get strong tides is on the coast of the UK, but there's other places in the world where we get strong tides. Here's a strange little symbol. And this symbol is telling us it's a reporting point, and this is a reporting point for the big ships with the pilots on board coming into the port. And because of this little arrow, that tells us that when the vessel is coming in, they have to call the port control and tell them that they're passing between buoys 23 and 24. So this is a statutory reporting point for the big ships coming in. Making our way in a little bit more, we can see this symbol here. This is telling us that the flood and the ebb tide are 4 knots. So that's a good walking speed. So there's a fair amount of tide running here. Coming in a little bit further, we can see we can go into this dock area here, or we can go into this channel here. And we've got a north cardinal buoy here, and that's telling us that the safe area is to the north. So we have to stay to the north of a north cardinal buoy. We can, in this case, we can go to the west, and we can also go to the east. And you can see there's another reporting point here, and this is a reporting point for going in and for coming out. So we'll continue our little journey, working our way down the channel. We see we're going to go underneath a bridge now, and this bridge is 20 meters height. So from highest high water, and two different conventions we use depending on the age of the chart, but let's just say the highest high water for the time being, you're going to have at least 20 meters underneath this bridge. But there might be sides of the bridge where you don't have the full height, so bear that in mind as well. Coming down, we can see again port and starboard. We can see that there's this wiggly line, or the hacksaw blade wiggly line. That's telling us that some kind of cable is crossing underneath the channel here. But we'll continue our way, port and starboard, port and starboard, port and starboard. All very good. This is interesting. You can see here that we've got 2 speeds of the tide. This is the flood tide and this is the ebb tide. And how you can find out the difference is on this electronic chart. You give it a click and then ask the information, and it tells us the tidal stream. This is for the flood tide. So something to bear in mind with these charts, these electric charts, is it's very much interactive. You can get lots of information which can be a little bit confusing, or you can go closer in and you get more detailed information. So we're going to continue our track down here, and you can see this is interesting. Between this land here and this land here, it actually is quite a huge distance. But the actual channel is only a small part of that, and you can see why, because this is the depth, the deep channel, but this is the shallow area, only 2.4 meters of water. So what's the distance between this land and this land? Well, we can do a very quick measurement and we can see that it's like 0.4 or a third. We can say, yeah, like a third of a mile. But the actual channel, is less than 1/10 of a mile. So only 25% of the water between this land and this land, only 25% of it is what you can actually navigate through. Anyway, let's carry on. Port buoy and starboard buoy, it's all looking very good. Again, instead of the port and starboard being alongside each other, they split a little bit, and as we go further down we can see that you've got this green area. Remember, the green area could be land and it could be sea depending on the state of tide. Further down we continue on, and now we come to a rather interesting little junction. So this is, if you like, a left-hand turn when we're coming in, or a three-way junction, and you can see there's two buoys here. And these buoys are both marked as though they're east buoys, but in actual reality this is the south buoy and this is a north buoy. So this buoy is saying you must go to the north of the buoy, and this one says you must go to the south of the buoy. So actually you have to pass in the middle of these two buoys. And some people make the mistake, they're coming down from the sea, they see the port and starboard, they see the port and starboard, they see the port and starboard, and they just drive straight through, and unfortunately they stop on this sandbank here. So that's why this north and south cardinal buoys have been placed here, although they're not marked as north and south on this chart. In reality they are. And the other thing is, just in case you didn't work out the north and south bit, here's another clue: they go and put a special mark on top of the sandbank. So we'll continue our little journey. We're going to come along here, and now you can see the buoys have got a letter in front of them, and this is a Y1 and Y2, and the reason is we're heading towards Yas Island, and Yas Island's got a very nice marina on there, and this is the Yas Marina channel. So you can see port and starboard, but here it's only being dredged to 6 meters in 2009. And this area here says there was less water reported here in 2014, but I know from personal experience there's an awful lot of dredging going on this channel at the moment. So we can continue our journey along. And now you think, oh my goodness, what's happened? Because why? We had the port and starboard buoys and all the buoys have disappeared. And you've got the land here, and this is when you have to start working on local knowledge. But the good news is there actually are some buoys further down on this channel. So just to give you an idea, on this chart there's no more navigational information, but I know because of local knowledge, and this is where we have to blend local knowledge with actual chart knowledge, if you like. Here's a marina here. This is a new marina development. There's going to be a huge Hilton hotel here with 600 rooms and a marina. But as we come along the channel, here we go, and this is Yas Marina. And this is the home of the Formula 1 in Abu Dhabi, the Formula 1 motor racing. And the actual track comes along and it goes around. So 3 sides of the marina actually have a international Formula 1 racetrack. So we have a boat that's going to be moored just here for the Formula 1 in November. So the bow will be out, so from the bow we'll see the cars whizzing around here, and then from the stern of our yacht we're going to see the cars passing again on the stern of us. So there you go. This is just a quick guide, and have a look and get some information about how these charts work and the kind of information and the knowledge that could be there. Hope you enjoyed this. If you need more information, go to our website, coastalsafety.com. Lots of information there.